has to offer. From those rare moments not found anywhere else to scenes that blow your mind. There's only one place to find all that and more. Entertainment news on Channels Television. Join us at these times and get your swag on. Welcome back. We'd like to remind you that channelstv.com has more information for you. And on youtube.com/channelsweb, you can watch our videos. You can also watch us on your mobile device via your browser or download the Channels TV app for Android, iOS, and Windows devices from their respective stores. Besides giving you access to news updates on the go, the Channels TV and Channels 24 app have an eyewitness feature that you can use to share pictures, videos, or news of happenings around you. Just install the app, then tap and swipe to reveal the menu and follow the instructions. The lawyer to the detained former National Security Advisor, retired Colonel Sambo Dasuki, has confirmed that the former NSA has fulfilled all the bail conditions imposed on him by the Federal High Court in Abuja on the 2nd of July 2018. Dasuki's lawyer, Mr. Ahmed Raji, told Channels Television that not only has the letter by the Deputy Chief Registrar of the Federal High Court confirming that Dasuki had fulfilled all the bail conditions been made available, it has also been presented to the Attorney General of the Federation and the Department of State Services, which is holding him in custody for further action on the directives of the court. Justice Ijoma Ojukwu of the Federal High Court in Abuja had on July the 2nd granted bail to Mr. Dasuki from the custody of the Department of State Services, where he'd been detained for 2.5 years, since December the 29th, 2015, for the 6th time. The trial judge granted the former NSA bail in the sum of 200 million naira, with two sureties in like sum, ruling that the long and continued detention of the applicant since December 29, 2015 could not be justified. And now, the organized private sector has lauded the economic policies and reforms of the Buhari administration, especially in the areas of power, infrastructure, and ease of doing business. Leaders of the private sector who were part of the quarterly Presidential Business Forum in Abuja believe the economic initiatives of the federal government have recorded steady improvement. There are some areas of concern, especially in port operations, and a need to improve access to Tin Can and Apapa ports to complement the government's ease of doing business initiative. The private sector players also want locally manufactured goods and services to be more competitive, which they believe is the only way we can benefit from the African continental free trade area. In his remarks at the meeting, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo says the crucial component of the present administration's economic policy has been from the onset partnership with the private sector and a rigorous process of engagement with them. He added that the development of the federal government's policies around exports and other aspects of trade have also taken the same route of constant engagement with the private sector. And we have joining us on News Across Nigeria, business editor, Channels Television, Bosun Omafaye. Bosun, to shed more light on this issue.
Thank you for having me.
It's good to have you, not on Business Morning, but on...
It's always business.
Yes, it's always business. Speaking of which, so what do they mean? What areas in the private sector are giving the thumbs up to the federal government?
A few of the chieftains in the organized private sector.
Sorry, and are they speaking on behalf of everyone?
If you look at the leaders of the private sector, the various industrial, manufacturing, trade union people saying, look, we believe that we've made some progress. Yes, we've made some progress over the last 2 years or so. And that is on record, that the administration has made some progress. The ease of doing business, for the first time we saw direct presidential directive that everyone can link up to. Then we've seen a number of engagements between the government and the private sector. The NIPC, for example, which had been dormant for several years, the Investment and Promotion Commission has gone on roadshow virtually 36 states of the Federation, has gone on other roadshows internationally, speaking on AGOA, which was last week, which is the Africa Growth Opportunities Act of the United States for Africa. So we've seen a bit more of a robust public-private sector engagement under the current administration, and we must give that to this current administration. that the Office of the Vice President under the National Economic Council had done more engagement than we had previously had. And that is the key thing in getting feedback from the private sector on what you need to do next. It's been done before, but then we've seen different strategies being employed this time around, and which seem to be working at some level. But as you noted in the introduction you did, that key areas that are yet to be done, in particular the port operations. As far as the port operations, we all know why the problem is. Lagos still accounts for about 80 to 90% of the entire import and export in Nigeria, which is really bad. In terms of all the roads or highways leading to Lagos, that's a major problem. The number of haulage trucks that come and out of Lagos every day is a lot of problems for those of us who work and live in this particular city, and also a problem to other businesses, the environment, the roads, bridges in Lagos and what have you. So the government program over the last few years to dredge and have what you call a deep shore in Warri, on Port Harcourt, all the way to Calabar should be fast-tracked, so that Lagos is not the only place where if you have 10, 20, 30 cargoes of petrol products coming into Nigeria, 99% of that is coming into Lagos alone. And that is not good enough for the facilities that was built before independence, which was the Lagos port, which remains exactly the same. So the volume of what is being handled is just like the international airport in Lagos. The volume of what it was built in 1973, 1976, today the population has grown, the economy has grown faster, so the government needs to move very quickly with the MPA, which is the Nigerian Port Authority, and with the private sector folks to make sure that we don't have just a single port in Lagos, but to have others functioning as well in other parts of the country.
You mentioned progress and ease of doing business. Yes. How does this translate to improving the economy? What I'm asking is, they're putting the chess pieces in the right places, so to speak.
Yes.
When will that begin to tell on the lives of Nigerians?
It takes time. The economy ran into a very serious ditch. There was a major accident the economy has had. There's a problem with the structure of the economy. We need to restructure the economy. We need to look at the building blocks of the economy. But for now, what the current administration is trying to re-engineer what we've done, ease things a little bit for the economy, while the brick and mortar still need to be addressed. The restructuring of the economy goes way back to the constitution of the country. We need to do major shifts, and that is part of what we call like moving some of the cargo handling from Lagos to Warri, Delta, and other places.
Therefore, how much of an effect will the elections coming up next year have, if there is a change of administration, on the progress made so far? How will continuity be?
For example, in terms of the dredging of the seaport, both Lagos, whatever, I've been on the cards since the Obasanjo's administration. Okay. And every administration should pursue it vigorously. The current administration is spending very heavily on roads, rail, and others. The next administration, even if the current administration remain in power beyond 2019, they should ramp up the speed at which these key infrastructures are delivered, so that we can begin to see improvement in the economy. See, everyone is congested in Lagos. We need to let transportation, people, goods and services not just dovetail in and out of Lagos alone, but across the country. Now you're going to spread, and it helps job creation as well, because other state governments are on the downside while Lagos is booming. You can't only have one Lagos that is booming in a country of 180 million people. Kano has to boom, Enugu has to boom, Onitsha has to boom, Port Harcourt has to boom, Ekiti State has to boom. But when 9 out of every petrol tanker in Nigeria comes to Lagos, that is a problem for all the roads and highways leading to Lagos. And that is a problem. So we need to see that the Lagos-Ibadan highway problem that we're trying to fix all these years is part of the fact that most of the people coming to the country and out of the country use that single road. We can't have one single infrastructure built around 180 million people, including those who want to leave the country. And it's not sustainable. So that is where the heavy lifting remains to be done by the administration.
Thank you so much, Bosun, for your expertise.
My pleasure.
Bosun Omafaye on Business Morning, every morning, Channels Television. You're watching news across Nigeria. Coming up, the Edo Automated Payment System. Stay with us.